Hi. Can you hear me now? There we go. Okay. So I'm going to start off with a slide with a lot of words, but I promise the rest of them won't. Okay? So just bear with me for a second. This is my talk, How to Save the Planet by Avoiding Confirmation Bias and Information Silos. And I'm going to start with a quote from one of my favorite authors, a guy by the name of Pratchett. It was because he wanted there to be conspirators. It was much better to imagine men in some smoky room somewhere, made mad and cynical by privilege and power, plotting over the brandy. You had to cling to this sort of image, because if you didn't, then you might have to face the fact that bad things happened because ordinary people, the kind who brushed the dog and told their children bedtime stories, were capable of going out and doing horrible things to other ordinary people. It was so much easier to blame it on them. It was bleakly depressing to think that they were us. If it was them, then nothing was anyone's fault. If it was us, what did that make me? After all, I'm one of us. I must be. I've certainly never thought of myself as one of them. No one ever thinks of themselves as one of them. We're always one of us. It's them that do the bad things. This gets to the central point that I'm trying to make. That not only do we like to ignore the responsibilities that we have, but we like to put our blame somewhere else. But I've got some bad news that hopefully leads to some good news. This is the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. It's an area of garbage 4.5 times the size of Germany. This did not get there by 7 people plotting in a room for how to destroy the ecology of the ocean. This was done by all of us, by millions and billions of people throwing away their garbage in ways that eventually ended up damaging our oceans and even coming back into our bodies as microplastics. If you look at this chart, these are the top 20 polluting companies on the planet. This chart gets passed around my social media feed as if we just regulate these companies, if we just tax them into oblivion, global warming will be over. Climate change will end. These are the bad guys. This is them right here. We know these companies, Aramco, Exxon, Dutch Shell, and, to be fair, these companies have done some terrible things on the planet. But, again, that bad news, who's buying their products? Who's buying the gas that goes in our cars? Who's using the fertilizers that are made from their products to make the food that we eat every day? Right? Yeah. And this is what I'm talking about. It's not just this small group. It's all of us. But nobody likes to think that they share a part of the responsibility for the issues of the planet. Nobody wants to think they're part of the problem. And this desire to feel righteous, to feel that we are the victim and not the perpetrator, plays perfectly with confirmation bias and a social media economy that gives wealth and attention to those that would manipulate us for their own gain. I'm no stranger to this issue. This is me at 35. For 35 years, I had maintained a love story with bacon and steak and cheese. I didn't want to hear about the facts of the problems that I was introducing into the world. Vegans were a punchline to many of my jokes. I didn't want to think about how between 14 to 35% of all greenhouse gases are released by animal agriculture, whether you're looking at an older United Nations study or a more recent one from the University of Illinois. 35%. It's more than any other sector. I didn't want to think about how factory farming, where we are keeping animals locked up in tiny little cages and using 80% of all antibiotics, according to the FDA, are creating the perfect laboratories for antibiotic-resistant superdrugs that are going to make COVID seem like a happy memory. After 35 years, I was obese. My cholesterol was through the roof. I could no longer deny that a heart attack was no longer something that I had to worry about in the distant future. This was knocking at my door. I was able to change a lot of those problems by cutting out animal products, living a little bit healthier. But it was only once I did that that I was even willing to admit the problems that I had been causing through my own actions. It was only then that I could think about those statistics and realize that I was having an impact on it, that I was helping to damage the planet. And my body, of course. Because it was appealing to my confirmation bias. It was only when I was able to break out of it by seeing the facts that I could understand my own confirmation bias. So what is confirmation bias, right? Been floating around this idea. So confirmation bias is the psychological principle that you accept facts that appeal to what you already believe. And anything that you don't already believe in, nope, you're not going to listen to it. So if somebody says that your shoes are the best brand ever, bing, your brain lights up like a slot machine. Somebody tells you that your that your political position is the right one, bing, you suddenly feel really smart. If a whole bunch of people tell you that your religious position is correct, that you're going to heaven, bing, 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 your brain lights up. And if somebody presents you with an idea that goes against what you think, nope, I'm not listening. You're stupid. Go away. And this used to be more difficult. This used to be hard to do back before social media and the algorithm. Now the algorithm helps select what we already like by noticing what we pay attention to and feeding it to us over and over and over. It helps us to create what we now call information silos. Basically, our own little mental ecosystem where we only accept and are fed the things that we already agree with. Anything else is kept out automatically. We don't even have to do it intentionally anymore. Influencers know this. They know the best way to get and keep your attention is not by changing your beliefs or challenging your beliefs, but by telling you that you're right. You are righteous. You're the victim of forces beyond your control, the victim of they. So therefore, not responsible. Not responsible for anything. Not your own actions, not the consequences of those actions, whether your own body, the community, or the planet as a whole. The social media feed collects influencers and data and ideas and feeds it to you that you already agree with. This creates a low-level serotonin buzz that keeps you coming back for more and more times for longer and longer. Think of all the times you've been scrolling on your phone, whether on TikTok or Instagram, or if you're old like me, Facebook, and you're stuck there for hours, right? Because of the constant level of serotonin being degenerated by confirmation bias. But who cares? What's it matter if I only am absorbed in the things that I agree with? What's it matter to the planet if I'm happy based on my social media feed? Well, again, I got some bad news. In my own country of the United States, during COVID, millions of people created information silos that told them that the vaccine to COVID would kill them. Hundreds of thousands of them are now dead, unnecessarily, because of their information silo. On January 6th of 2021, a whole lot of people, and there's definitely some overlap with the first group, believed that Donald Trump had won the election. They were willing to storm the Capitol and perpetrate violence. Some of them are dead. Many more of them are now in prison for years. Every day, we take actions, whether it's putting gas in our cars, contributing to animal agriculture, or any of a dozen other things that we do on a daily basis that are leading to global warming and climate change. This is something that now billions of people around the world are feeling in a very immediate way, as we've already talked about in some of our other excellent discussions. Whether that's droughts in California, droughts right here in China, droughts in Europe, or large monsoons that we've never seen before. These are real problems. And when we feel like we are the victim, we often lash out against the forces that we feel are oppressing us. Again, this is something that my own country is frighteningly good at because of the mass shootings, which are only going up. Every year, more and more people are lashing out at what the forces they feel are oppressing them. So what do we do about it? I've got 3 ideas. The first comes from an influencer I do like, a guy by the name of Matt Dillahunty. And this is a way of screening your own ideas so that you have the most accurate picture of the world that you can have. Because it's only when you have the most accurate picture of the world that you can take the right actions that benefit your body, your health, the community, the planet. And it goes with this sentence right here. I want to believe as many true things and as few false things as possible. Now, you could just believe everything. There are certainly people out there that do that, but then you would end up believing a whole lot of false stuff. Or you could believe nothing and be a true cynic, true skeptic. But then you wouldn't believe a lot of the true things in the world, right? You got to find that balance. You got to be able to screen it. And one of the best ways that I've found to do that is when I find something that really lights up my brain, that really says, oh, you're brilliant, I'll go and I'll try to find 2 to 3 sources that disagree with it. It takes a little bit of time, sure, but I might find out I'm wrong. And that's actually the quickest way to get to be right. And it also makes sure that I have a more rounded position, that I've thought about other aspects of things. And the third, and this is one I struggle with, and I'm sure a lot of us have tried to do this before, and if you want to do this right now, I won't be offended. Go into your phones and delete the apps for social media. Now, I know that's hard. That's an absolute nightmare for my students. But this is a way to break down those information silos. This is a way to allow other thoughts in that aren't controlled by the algorithm. You can do this. Your health, the health of your communities, and the health of the planet depend on it. You can screen ideas and facts that immediately appeal to your emotions and find out who's trying to pander to you, who's trying to tell you good news about your bad habits. Because it's only when we realize that there's no nefarious outside power, there's no they, but only our own mind that needs to be overcome. That's when we can change our bodies. That's when we can change our communities. That's when we can change the planet. I believe in you, and I believe in us. Thank you very much.